Okay, so now we got player Joe Gomez that's got released. It's the flashback cards. We're going to go over if he's worth it or not. He is very, very pricey. Don't forget, it's not the team of the year. It's a flashback community team of the season. So it's technically it's a flashback player, but anyway. 3-star, medium, 6'2". Very, very good stats. I'll be honest. I still think you do need a shadow on him, personally speaking, because you want to get that acceleration. Now, people are going to say you don't need it, but truthfully, you do. But because he's got such high sprint speed and decent acceleration, you can get away with the engine. I believe agility and balance one that, well, it's not really a believe, it's kind of a proven thing now. That agility balance is one of the most important stats for defenders, especially for jockeying and jockeying speed variation. He is quite expensive. If we look at his card right now, he is very, very expensive, guys. He's no buy. He's got an 85 rated squad with a team of the week player, an 86 rated squad, and then it is another team of the week player, and that is of course a 7 rated squad. And then it's another team of the week player. So it's actually a very pricey squad. For those who are wondering how I look at the price, I just go on Footbin and I normally just type in cheapest fodder, which would be a link. I'll just give you the cheapest. So like, let's say, let's say 88 rated squad, for example, 88, and you just times it by 11. Let's say 200k. So 200k, let's say about so it's about 400k, maybe even 400 or 500k, which I think is still very, very pricey, to be honest. And I think for that kind of price, you have to remember players like Laporte are consideration for just being better. Now, the way that I do this is I'm just going to compare this here. And I want to compare it with Laporte, and I'll give you a bit of a view. So they're both very, very similar. Okay, very, very similar in terms of stats. They're both medium as well, and one is 6'3", one 6'2". Yes, I suppose you can say Laporte gives you the better links. Now there is a few benefits. You can see, look, the acceleration is the same. Sprint speed slightly better on Gomez. You're not going to notice that. Shooting itself is basically irrelevant. There's going to be no real stats. You can argue positioning, but they're very much very, very identical. So I don't think it's much of an issue when we're comparing those. Then we go over to passing. So you can see Joe Gomez got better crossing if you had played him as a winger. His short passing is really, really high at 98. But the long passing and the short passing is better on Laporte. So the curve is also better for the driven passes and for the driven passes down the wing. So although the crossing is better on Joe Gomez, are you going to be taking a corner with Joe Gomez? How often are you going to go down the wing and cross the ball with Joe Gomez? Although his face value stat is 83, it's actually not the same because the passing is overall better on Laporte. And don't forget, at the end of the day, the only downside is the 2-star skill moves, but you're not really going to skill too much your defender. They both have a 3-star weak foot. Difference is he's left-footed. The agility balance is very, very similar. You can see that it's only a couple of digits in there realistically. Don't forget, height does also impact it, but because they're basically the same, Laporte's a bit taller. You could argue Joe Gomez is going to feel a bit better. You can see that Joe Gomez got a bit better dribbling, but the composure stat, which you can argue is not that important, in my opinion, is not that important defending wise, but they got 99 reactions. Now, defending itself, you can see that very, very identical. The heading accuracy is much better, but again, it's not too much of a big thing. And you can see just slightly better jumping on Laporte, and that is wild edge Laporte over Joe Gomez. And that's like, I'm just saying, just be careful, because when you're spending so much money on this card, and I think when you can buy Laporte as a tradable card, it's worth it. Now, what I'd recommend is, with both these cards, I would consider something like an engine. And the reason why I would say this is if you put an engine on one of these cards, right, is that you improve that agility and balance. And I think a shadow, is needed because I think you want to get that sprint speed to 94. Now, if you're someone that sits and you're like, you know what, Neil, I can see a lot of goals from in behind, and you really need that sprint speed and acceleration boost, then use Shadow. You might think +4 doesn't make that much difference, but trust me, during team of the season, it does. Even +3 will make a big difference, because that's the difference when you get in the ball and you're not getting the ball sometimes. Especially if you're late at switching, I'll say definitely recommend Shadow. But if you are good at switching in time and you kind of can guess and predict the play, I would say use Engine. And I think with that acceleration as well, and it's basically maxed out the sprint speed, you might lose that initial boost, but then the benefits are you improve the passing, the long passing in particular, if you were to use him. And of course, you do improve that vision a little bit as well. But the main thing, of course, is that agility balance. But again, he's quite pricey. In my honest opinion, and I say this to everyone, unless you really want him, I always say better off going for the tradable card. Or if you want to wait, put him Edgered. basically identical. I mean, you know, Laporte's got a unique body type, but that is the same for Joe Gomez. It isn't really that much difference. One thing I would say is, what I want to do is compare these to just regular defenders. We just go to regular defenders in the Premier League. We're not going to be doing no fullbacks comparison, but let's say we compare it to Ruben Diaz. Now, this is the thing. Ruben Diaz, you could argue, is a very, very good centre-back. I personally prefer the high defensive work rates. It makes more sense for fullbacks to have high defensive work rates. I think it's a must. For centre-backs, it's not really a must. But they're very, very similar. And I think if you're going to compare the two cards, let's say you put all three of them together. In fact, Gomez, Joe Gomez, and then we're going to put Laporte in as well. They're very much, very, 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 very close in terms of price-wise. Just go for Laporte, to be honest. And you can see in terms of stats, the real benefit is the high defensive work rates. Would I pay extra for the weak foot and high defensive work rates? Yes, I would. I don't really care too much about the shot power. The passing is marginally better, and that is about it. The agility balance is a bit better on Joe Gomez, but it's mainly just paying for the medium-high defensive work rate. So to be honest, Laporte would probably be the one to go for. If you can't afford these cards, you're looking for another centre-back. Let's say you're looking for another centre-back in the Premier League. There is quite a good load of centre-backs. Now, I'll be honest, if you have the money to spend, go ahead and do it. But let's say you're saying, like, you know what, no, I ain't got 600k to spend, 700k to spend on the centre-back. Just lol if anyone did that Varane card, by the way. Thank God, the World Footbin has banned me. If I go back over here, the benefits is that you could use someone like Mings. Someone like Tyrone Mings is a very, very cheap card if Footbin makes it load. I think if you're looking for a centre-back, I think Tyrone Mings is the way to go, because what you can do essentially is you can put a shadow on him and get near about Joe Gomez stats. The benefit is you have someone that's medium-high as opposed to medium-medium. He's 6'5", so you can argue a bit taller than Joe Gomez and Laporte for that matter, especially at high defensive work rates. And he's basically half the price, and he's tradable for 200k. You can see the short passing and long passing is still very, very good on Tyrone Mings. He just lacks that jumping. If you really care about jumping, you can put an anchor on him, but I'd recommend a shadow. He's already got really good agility and balance, and that is why I'd put him ahead of even the likes of Laporte and even Ruben Diaz, me personally speaking. And I think when you put a shadow on him, he's got near enough to speed. So my personal opinion is I wouldn't do him. Although the packs, the small rare mixed players pack, a small prime gold players pack, and a prime electrum and a prime gold players pack, I don't think there's a real need to go from. I mean, look, if you want to, you can go watch a review from Ozio Interception. They're going to use the player inside the game. I don't believe you need to use a defender to see can you defend with the ball, personally speaking. But if you really want to watch them, I'd recommend those two in terms of player reviews. But I'll definitely just say save your money and go with Tyrone Mings. And in fact, there's a lot of cheap players as well. If you're looking for like just duos, you're talking about, you can get Rudiger. He is a bit more pricey, Rudiger, but of course he is a very, very good centre-back as well. Again, is the medium-high work rates. I would highly recommend, if you have the money, to go for the medium-high work rates. And that is pretty much it. I mean, Tuanzebe is still a very, very good card. He's very, very cheap now, 63k. And you can put a shadow on him. Again, another medium high as well, with decent agility and balance. So I would say Tuanzebe and the likes of Tyrone Mings together collectively will be cheaper than SPC itself and will save you a lot of coins. So unless you need the likes of Laporte for links to Cancelo, or let's say, for example, I don't know, you have like Robertson, or you have like, I don't know, you want to get a triple link between Van Dijk, Alisson, and Joe Gomez, I would recommend not doing it. Anyway, that's kind of my take, my opinion, and that is my review. I'm not going to sit here and press X and tell you a guy can tackle the ball. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy, of course. I'll catch you next time. Peace out.